live. Let's see. Here we go. It says the green streaming icon, so it says I'm streaming. Let's go over to YouTube and see if that shows up there as well. Are we good here? Maybe? I feel like this is how all these streams start, by the way. It's always like the I'm not sure if we're actually streaming thing. Yep, I'm not. One viewer, that's it. Okay, that is a good start. 10 viewers, there we go. Now we're making progress. I can see the DCR live showing up on YouTube. I've kind of like tweaked things a little bit this time, a different camera setup. So I've got like a DSLR camera right there. I've got the live chat open up now here on the laptop. I'm actually reasonably impressed this actually worked. So this is the first time clicking good there. So as long as you can hear me, let me know if you can't, because that would be really bad. I've got like a microphone set up, like I've gone super pro, as pro as I can get with a cheap cable to connect the camera and all. So a little bit quiet, someone says. I may be able to turn that up a little bit. May being the operative word there. Let's see if this does the trick, maybe. Let's see, a little bit quiet, almost no sound. Let's see if I can tweak the controls right here a little bit to make it a little bit louder for you. If not, definitely just crank up the volume if you can on your computer or phone or whatever it may be until I get this sorted out. But in the meantime, drop some questions down below though. So definitely drop some questions, and there we go. People saying it's better now. Sound is better. Great. Sweet. No video. I can't help you if you have no video, but looks like video to me. Any case, drop questions. So this is kind of Friday Night Live again, DCR Friday Night Live. The goal being just to answer questions that may have come up over the last couple weeks. I did this 2 weeks ago on Friday night, and basically just all sorts of tech questions, anything you want. Drop it right in the comments and we'll get right into it. So the first one there, it looks like, is the 4i crank, left crank only, worth the purchase. It's an awesome crank. Like, as far as a left only power meter, I've always talked about, like, I'm kind of the point where I'm a little hesitant on left only power meters in general, because I think there's more and more evidence showing that left only power meters are great in some ways and also limited, as we know, like in terms of your fatigue. You fatigue differently, so it's not just like a clean, double the left and hope for the best thing. Over the course of like a 3 or 5 hour ride or whatever is hard for you, you're going to go ahead and fatigue, and that shift is that balance is going to change. And so also true, like for me, my balance changes over my FTP wattage. So once I hit that level, then it tweaks as well. So it gets a little more difficult there, depending on that. So in any case, I'd say as far as left-only power meters go, I have zero problems whatsoever recommending a 4i's one over anything else. It's solid, and especially though if you're looking to upgrade. I think that's true for all of these. Like if you have the money now to do left-only, but maybe next spring or next summer you want to go to a dual setup, then definitely look at that. Just be wary though that you can actually make that upgrade. Like find a unit that they are already doing the left-only to right dual thing today, and not one that they might do it down the road, because historically speaking, all these companies have offered and said, hey, buy left only and do dual down the road, but it hasn't actually worked out. And so like Stages, which they never claimed they would do dual down the road, but they have the left only units and now they have their dual setup, and you can't really upgrade from one to the next. So that's a bit of a sad panda moment. Let's see, so Yusuf asks, what watch are you wearing right now, left and right? So on my left-hand side, I've got the Apple Watch Series 3 LTE, little red dot there that you see. That's like the infamous red dot, and it's a cellular edition. And the right-hand side, I've got a slightly loose at the moment, Samsung Gear Sport. Yeah, Gear Sport. So this is my first run with this today. I did a couple rides as well around town, just on the VirB bikes. Wasn't so awesome. If you checked out my Twitter feed, I showed an image there of what that looked like. Yeah, that wasn't good at all. I would say the cycling they did later in the day, just across town and stuff, was definitely better. It still like had horrible distance calculations on it that uploaded to Strava, but the actual like map was at least where I rode, as opposed to being everywhere I did not ride. So check. I'm going to scroll way back up in the questions here. There are so many questions already. Where's the article comparing the Ionic, Apple Watch, and VirB 3? It's a good question. I will ask my laptop where that article is and get back to you. I started doing that, but I'm not sure yet if I'm going to include the Gear Sport in there. It's one of those ones where if I don't include it, people are going to shout that I didn't include it. And when I do include it, people are going to be like, oh, okay, whatever. Let's talk the other three. It's just it's an interesting watch. Like there's things I like about the Gear Sport. Like I really actually like the bezel. It sounds silly, and maybe I'm not sure if you can see it there or not, but let's see. There we go. So like if I go into apps and stuff, it's actually kind of nice. It works really well, and the watch feels really good as well. It feels like firm and clean and everything. But the whole like Samsung S Health thing is really bad. Like it's just bad. I don't understand why it's so convoluted, and it looks pretty, but it's just bad. So anyways, that's where that is. Let's see. What's Polar up to? It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, they have announced, or not really announced, they like purposefully let on leak, whatever you want to call it, on a podcast earlier this year that they're going to have a V800 successor next spring. So that's their, they have their OH1, which is their optical heart rate sensor, and that's really, really solid. It is Bluetooth Smart only, so if you're in Garmin land, that's really not going to help you too much, like older Garmin land. Newer Garmin land is fine because they do Bluetooth Smart sensors, but older Garmin land, not so much. But yeah, they're kind of like in this quiet space. I mean, I guess last spring they did announce the 430 and the 460, cycling and running mid-range units, both of them great units. But it's kind of tough to know where they're going to go from here. Rodrigo asks, is there a weight limit for the Kickr Climber, the Wahoo Climb? I think there is, but I have not heard of it. I don't remember off the top of my head anyways. I know that they did talk about it quite a bit, and they wanted something that was like crazy durable for any sort of rider out there. So I think it's probably pretty high, but I don't have it off the top of my head. Did you get a pneumatic camera to extend the cave as suggested? No, I have not. Actually, sorry, I do have a pneumatic camera. And it was, oddly enough, for the cave. We had to install air conditioning a couple summers ago, and it was really bad in the upstairs for the cake area because we were trying to do a massive, it was a really funny thing, we were trying to do a massive order for the American Embassy, like 2,000 or 3,000 cupcakes, something like that, plus a huge cake, and it was a huge heat wave, and this cake was just starting to melt. And so typically this place doesn't get a lot of direct sun. It only gets direct sun in the summer for like 15 minutes. But this week it went out of control. So we got a pneumatic camera, and we burst through the side of the wall so we can make our own air conditioning ducts out and stuff. It was pretty awesome. So yeah, but I have not done that here. I can't really go anywhere. So like there's stuff on all sides, unfortunately. So I'm sort of stuck from a sizing standpoint. Word on the street from any third parties for Garmin cycling dynamics support? Not yet. I mean, PowerTap hinted at it in a tweet that they might do it, or that they're looking at it or whatever. Obviously, Trainer Road's already there. I think we'll see more trainer apps do it sooner. Like I could see like the Kino Maps of the world just adding it in because it's relatively straightforward to them. The same with like a Perf Pro or something like that. It's a little more difficult for the power meter companies themselves because there actually is like some math and testing and stuff that has to be done there, whereas the software apps, it's sort of trivial. They just take the specs and add them in. Keep in mind though, none of that's actually formalized by the AMP Plus working group yet, so they can't really do that entirely. They do what Trainer Road does, which is go to Garmin and say, hey, let's just do this, and they can do it that way, and that's probably what they should do for the meantime. And then once the format gets standardized, they can come back through and say, just clean up anything else and be off and running. Let's see. Any news on a Garmin Ultra camera successor? No, I don't think we're going to see that this year. I think they're probably going to wait till sometime. They're going to wait till sometime probably next year. I think right now they're all focused on the VirB 360, which they're in a really good market position for. If they can figure out like the marketing angle of that a bit, which is tough with GoPro out there. But I think that's sort of like the whole tide raises all boats thing. And in this case, with GoPro and more focused on GoPro Fusion coming up here in the next few weeks as they start shipping that will in turn probably help out Garmin as well there. But I think they're just going to kind of hold still at this point and probably come back next year sometime. I personally like to see them come back with a camera in the spring. I think that'd be good timing for them. They could pretty much just use the same chipsets to match GoPro and be in a good spot. Or they could throw down and use, there's plenty of other chipsets that do much better than GoPro's chipset right now from a resolution standpoint, and up their game and see what happens. I think that they got a lot of really good attention last year from the press, and I think they could do the same thing and probably make things interesting. Let's see. Will drinking water make you smarter? I don't know if it'll make me smarter, but I will say this glass is pretty awesome. So it was the same event where we made the air conditioning for the embassy. They like all these weird companies came in and sponsored things or whatever they did, and I guess we were one of the same ones from a cupcakery standpoint. But one of them was Jack Daniels. They were all American companies, and they had these drinks there for free at this massive event. And so we liked the glasses, and we took a bunch of them, maybe like a half a dozen of them. They were free, so we had to just keep on drinking to get more and more of them. Let's see, is a Fenix 5 worth an extra 150 pounds over the Fenix 3 HR? I think so. I actually do think so, and I'm not one that like typically wants to spend more money on things, but I think in this case, 3HR from a software compatibility standpoint has sort of reached the end of the line with third-party apps, and I'd be concerned, especially for connected Q apps and things like that going forward over the next year or so, that you're going to get more and more pigeonholed in if you're on the 3 and 3HR than if you were on the 5, and so that'd be my 2 cents there. At the same time, you've also got like the whole Black Friday thing coming up here soon, so I would say like the next 2 weeks-ish or so is probably a really bad time to buy sports tech in general, unless you're buying it on sale, because like you might as well just wait until the holidays and see what happens. So be my 2 cents there in general. It's the same advice I give every year: don't buy things in early November unless you know it's a good deal. Let's see. How do you find Lezyne bike computers? Let's make sure that we go. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm still recording and showing. I think they're good stuff. I think they're onto something in terms of software. They're like, definitely mid-lower end, but I think they're doing really good stuff there. I think, as I've said in the past, I think they're just really ugly, and I can't get around that. But other than that, like from a software standpoint, they're rocking along. Let's see. Clicking along. Is Stride still the best choice as a running power meter for running? I don't know. They're a good choice. I think right now they're probably overpriced, to be honest. I think with Garmin coming out with the running power on their RD pod, which is like, I don't know, 69 or 79 bucks, something like that. That's an option. RunScribe Plus is dual left-right pods for $199, so same price as Stride, maybe a little less than that, but either way, in that same ballpark. I did a run today with all three. It was really interesting because the RunScribe and the Garmin Power were actually reasonably close from what I could tell just as I'm looking at my wrist. I've got to send the files for the Garmin side off to Garmin to get back because it's still considered beta, so I don't have access to actually generate the graphs on my normal account. So I want to overlay them with all those things later on this weekend and see how they looked. So that's something to be interesting. Bob Slauson asks, will be the updated power meter guide soon? I hope so. I really hope so. Like, there's two big things that are the thorn in my side every day, which is this Apple Watch Series 3 review and the power meter guide is like the two biggies I want to get out the door. There's so much stuff going on I'm trying to get done at the same time, unfortunately. Let's see, looking forward to I just clicked in now, I'm way down further. Holy cow, that was a bad click. If you scroll look at these questions, there's so many, and like it was all there, and then I'm now totally lost. So I'm just gonna go with wherever I end up there. Holy cow. What watch are you wearing? I did that. And ankle. I have nothing on my ankles right now. I did have plenty earlier on in the run. Wattbike Adam. Would it be possible for my wife and I to share the same software, or does it require individual logins to get individual metrics? I don't remember seeing a logon in the app. It's right there, but I don't want to stumble over something if I try to go over there. So I think it's the same app. I'm trying to think if there's a way around that, and I could be totally wrong here, so people can correct me there. But I don't remember in the app being like two separate user IDs there, unfortunately, off the top of my head anyways. See, someone asked about the Garmin VirB upgrade to compete with Hero 6. I just talked about that a moment ago. Come out in Guy Parmella is saying come out and ride out in the outside of Paris here. Yes, I'm hoping to do that this weekend. I'm hoping, like, the weather's beautiful right now. Beautiful for my run today. I'm hoping to go out out in the countryside. I think maybe Sunday morning. Tomorrow I'm going swimming with the little one, so not so much then. Road bike that I use currently is, I guess it's upstairs right now. It's the Giant Defy 2, but I'm kind of like in the final stages of figuring out my build of a new road bike. Probably going to be Canyon, but maybe there's a chance it could be Argon 18 right now. So we'll see. I'm kind of flip flopping a little bit, but the rest of the parts are actually already being ordered, and so it's just a matter of like deciding the final frame there. But everything else. Seth asks, I don't want one, but I haven't seen you comment on the new Timex GPS watches. Yeah, I looked at them a little bit, and it's tough because I know those watches are all just like OEM'd, which means they're all just from like random third parties in Asia. They've slapped the Timex logo on and called it done. And honestly, I haven't seen much interest. Like, I think 3 people, including yourself, have asked, and the other person, I think maybe the PR person from Timex. So it's tough. It's always tough for me to balance like what to review and not to review. And I think for me, like when I get enough people asking about something, that's when I dig into it. Or if I think it's something that's just like super cool and I look at it, I'm like, I want to try that out. But if it's not one of those two things, and I'm kind of the point where there are so many things stacking up everywhere that I'm just trying to focus on getting stuff out that people want. So let's see. Seth also asked, get your iPhone X. Kinda. I tried. So I ordered one online because I had an iPhone 6 and it was just horrible. The speaker stopped working, or the microphone stopped working. It was really, really bad. And back in June, like, I couldn't even make a phone call, which is sort of strange for a phone. And then back in June, I swapped it out for an iPhone 7. I bought it, but it was really just holding me over till the fall. So that's going to become the girl's phone. And then I wanted the iPhone X. I didn't want the 8 Plus, and I really don't care so much about the X per se. But I want the dual cameras, and the 8 Plus has dual cameras, but the problem there is just too big for what I want. So this is only a tiny bit bigger than the X, or the 10 is only a tiny bit bigger than the 8. There we go. Anyways, I went this morning to try to pick one up at the Apple Store. I actually have a pre-order in, but it doesn't come in for another 2 or 3 weeks. And I was really excited because the line was like 6 people long at the Apple Store near me, which isn't like the main one in Paris people go to. They typically go to Opera or Louvre, and in this case, I have a little one that's brand new near me. And so I went there, stood in line for like 15 minutes, and then they're like, oh, we actually don't have any phones at all here unless you have a reservation. So, sad panda. Let's see, what's your opinion on Forerunner 735 versus Vivo Active 3? Essentially, if you're a triathlete, go with the 735. If you're more of a general all-around person, go with a Vivo Active 3. I think that's probably like the simplest version of that. Jeff asked, will all smartwatches send data to the Garmin VirB Ultra 30? No, only Garmin stuff does, and even then the watches themselves don't. It's really the sensors, so it's the Amp Plus sensors that send it, except for the heart rate, in which case then all of Garmin's ones with optical heart rate can indeed send it to the VirB Ultra 30. John asks, is there a big difference between the Tacx Elite Cyclops high-end trainers? What do you prefer best of the 3? I also include Wahoo in there too. I would say, first off, check out my full trainer recommendations post for 2017-2018, which is on the site DCRmaker.com, and then just search for trainers up the top. So that goes into like all the categories. I personally use the Tacx Neo, which is their high-end model, mostly because it's quiet and because I don't have to calibrate it. I just get on and it goes, and I don't think about it. It's great. I think the Wahoo Kickr 3, Kickr 2017, is great if you're looking to get the climb accessory. Otherwise, they're all really good. Like the Elite Drivo is a superb trainer. It's really good road feel, very, very, very accurate. So there's always like pros and minuses, or pros and cons of each, but I think they're all actually pretty darn close at the high end level. Just saw this, a Garmin diving watch to recommend videos sidebar. Would this be viable as a swimming watch? Yeah. So yeah, basically I came in Sunday night. We went out somewhere, did something, and we stopped by the studio, and it was a little weird. Like I just dropped some connection there. Hopefully it's back. Internet. Uh-oh, I may have lost everyone here. Oh, it says we're back. Live? It's blinking? Oh no, this is not good. I just got a notice saying it's disappeared. Well, let me know if you can still hear me or see me or whatever. Otherwise that'll be bad. But I'll keep talking and pretend you did hear me, or you still can hear me live. Maybe? That's weird. We hear you, it's in and out. Okay. Sorry, I should have connected the local Wi-Fi one downstairs. Anyways, so water leak. Basically, I came in Sunday night and we had done something around town. I just was picking up something inside, and I went to turn on the light in like our office area upstairs, and I turned on and the fuse blew, and I'm like, that's really weird, or I thought the fuse blew anyways, and I couldn't really figure it out and didn't think of anything else of it. And then I had to go the next morning up to Nemo 33 in Brussels for the whole dive watch thing that I was doing, so that was super early, leaving in the morning, and I didn't get a chance to play with the light situation until the next day on Tuesday. So I'm starting to like troubleshoot this and can't really figure it out. I brought an electrician, they couldn't figure it out. We're like, that's weird. We'll have to deal with that on Wednesday. So Wednesday I come in and I go walk into the office and I hear like a drip, drip, drip. I'm like, well, that's not good. Where's that coming from? And sure enough, it was coming out of the light fixture. So the light fixture in our office area was now like a fountain. Water was coming out of it. And that was the one that the circuit tripped on. So basically when I hit the light switch before, it was actually, faulting, protecting, and turned off things. So that was really bad. But what was actually really, really bad about that was, yes, there was water coming out of the ceiling, the lights were out, but it wasn't the floor above us, which we thought. It was 2 floors above us. There was a 96-year-old woman. She's out on vacation for 2 weeks, and it's her apartment. And it had been leaking for probably at least a week at this point, and down to the one above us, and I can't even imagine the mess that they have upstairs. Our mess isn't that bad, actually. So I just put some buckets down there and some towels, and I'm sure in a little while I'll have to figure out the ceiling situation up there. But for the moment, it's not horrible. I still can't turn the lights on in that office area yet, but everything else I was able to turn on, which is good. And I've just been using bike lights in the office, actually, so I can light up when I have to go in there. Anyways, circling back up to where I thought that I lost people here. Latest Epson watches were Suunto Spartan Trainer. That's easy, Suunto Spartan Trainer. It's an awesome watch, the Trainer. Like, it's a really good watch for the money. Very, very solid. Have you heard the Elite Direto humming sound? Yep. So I've got 2 units down there. They're both actually about to get boxed up and go back to them. One was a prototype and one is a final production unit. On the prototype, it actually has the humming sound. And it's funny because it just never bothered me. And Shane Miller was the same way. He went back and double checked, and his is the same thing. Like, it doesn't bother me. I can only hear it when I turn it on, and if in certain erg mode situations, but it's so low, it's below like my gear chain sound, it's below my fan, like it's not something that actually bothers me. And of course the backstory in that is essentially Elite uses 2 different component manufacturers for a part inside of there, and it's just a crapshoot as to which part you get, really. Some are totally silent from that part perspective, and some are have a humming sound that sounds like an old printer, but very, very dull. It doesn't impact the rest of the Trainer sound. It's purely like the actual portion that turns on like the power sensor, essentially. That said, next question, Direto or Flux? I would say Direto. I think the accuracy is just a little bit better than the Flux, and I also like the sound a little bit better, which sounds strange. I have the whole sound conversation, but the Flux to me sounds like a gravelly sound. It just doesn't sound super clean. The Direto just sounds a bit cleaner. Or go out and go to the Neo. Go big or go home. Zwift for running, any idea when it was available? Non-beta version? I don't know. I'm not sure what their general plan is there. I'd say this is the time of year when things like that start to happen. But I can't really get into Zwift for running. Like, I Zwift regular cycling this time of year, at least a couple times a week. But Zwift for running to me is just weird. Like, it just doesn't feel. I don't know. It doesn't feel as something. It just feels weird. It just feels like a treadmill run, but without a lot of purpose. I think like maybe if I get into more doing like a running workout or something on it, but just like running along doesn't do it for me. Also, there's no integration with the treadmill going up and down and stuff like that, so that's kind of a bit of a bummer. Let's see. Talk with Garmin. Fenix 5 is no longer syncing with my iPhone. Told there was an issue with iOS 11. I've not heard of that. I have iOS 11. I have an iPhone. I have a Fenix 5 and no issues. The general rule of thumb when there's problems with Garmin Connect and all that stuff is just to reset everything. Like, just delete it out of your account, add it back in again, delete it out of Bluetooth, just do all the deletions, and you're usually good to go again. That's my rule of thumb right there. Let's see. What piece of tech are you particularly looking forward to? I don't know. I think like right now it's kind of a quiet time, so there's not like a ton of stuff that I'm like, I don't have anything that's coming down the pipe right now. It's just like silence and quiet until CES time frame, I think. So I'd say the climb is something I'd love to get in and try that more often, or in here basically, as opposed to just on a show floor somewhere. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But beyond that, not too much. Every Sight Raptor, have you had a go with them? And if so, what are your thoughts having tried a couple of the previous Cycling Hut products? So yeah, the long story short there is that I tried their prototype out like a year or two ago. They came here, did everything, and then they had a disagreement on what I could show. They said I could show everything, and then they said at the last second I can't show anything except for like one picture from like 10 feet away. So I said nope, the whole post is still sitting in my server. I think the whole cycling heads-up display thing is a bit tricky right now. Like I'm not sure. Their new product is definitely a little cleaner than what I tried out a couple of years ago. That's for certain. So, and I think I said like then their product was really well done. So like I'm gonna give them a lot of credit for that. But I'm not sure. Like it's just tough. They're really expensive, and I think everyone still ends up needing a head unit anyways. So I'm not necessarily convinced. They gotta be something better there. I'm not sure what the problem is, but it needs to be better. Let's see, where's my full Atom review? You said you would have it one of the next 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, DC. I know. I wrote it yesterday. I wrote it before. I got some firmware updates last week that were kind of like stumbling block for me, where I just didn't think the shifting was awesome. It didn't work with FEC at all. So those are things that got sorted out in the last couple of days here on Wednesday, I think it was. Maybe Tuesday. I'm really trying to get it out next week. That's my hope, along with everything else. Vector 3, another thing I'm trying to get next week. So that's actually doing really well for me. I've got that on a bunch of rides now. I waited to get the final Vector production version. I got that a weekish ago. Yeah, like a week ago. Came in, and I've been riding that. No issues. It looks really, really good there. So I'm happy with that. Let's see. Is Polar V660 coming out soon? No idea. I haven't heard anything like that. I'm not really sure what Polar's doing in the bike computer realm with the higher end stuff. I think like they're a good spot with the mid-range stuff, but I think the higher end stuff is a little bit tricky. Will you come to Adidas and Nuremberg again anytime soon? Probably not, only for the simple reason that Adidas isn't actually in the sports tech business anymore, so not really a reason, unfortunately, for me to go there. So thank you from Canada. Tacx Vortex or Stax Zero? Depends a little what you want. So with the Stax Zero, it's going to be quiet, which is great. It's super, super quiet. Accuracy and the power is solid. But the Vortex has control versus the Tacx Zero, you just, to change resistance, you have to change speed. So the Vortex is going to give you control. It's going to simulate hills and Zwift and stuff. It's not as like high end, which is fine, because neither is the Stax Zero from a resistance standpoint. So just something to keep in mind. I tend to like just the resistance control aspect of it, but that's just my only personal preferences. Let's see, Steve M asks, Canyon Argon 18 are two very different sides of the price spectrum. No, that is definitely true. It's something I'm considering. I've got a friend who can help out on the Argon 18 part. He's like a retailer or whatever you call them. So that may be impacting my decision making there. I haven't really decided yet if I'm gonna go that route. Let's see, what's next? Carlos asks, is having a power meter on a mountain bike good? It can be. It's different. Like it's not as clean as being out on the road and having just straight power that you abide by. I think it's almost better in some ways for analysis after the fact. Also better, I think, if you do have longer climbs within, like if you're mountain biking, actually going up as opposed to just downhill or kind of up and down. So it's tougher though for people to analyze. It's definitely still kind of a tricky spot. Have you tried the latest update on your Suunto Spartan Trainer HR? What are your thoughts on the 24/7 tracking improvements? I did install it yesterday, but I haven't done the 24/7. Haven't looked at it to see if it's changed anything there, or how exactly it's changed it. So I'll have to double check that. Eric Mills, do you think the new Epson watches, the ProSense 367, are worth trying now, even with the software limitations you talked in the review? No, simply put, no. Like, I mean, the 367 is the same as the 47, again, really bad numbers. And then the 307 is what I reviewed. And those three are identical from a software standpoint. It's simply that the 367 has the sapphire glass display, just simple material on the front of it, and then the 340, 57, whatever it was in the middle, has double the battery life. But software are identical and everything else. So I don't think so. And I told at the time, like, that's a really big thing to miss, not having sensor support there, but then have it on a $99 watch. I don't really understand that. Know of any Bluetooth connectivity issues between the 935 and the iPhone 7 Plus? Cares if I should ask for replacement, and as it doesn't stay connected consistently. So I don't know of any Bluetooth issues there. Like, I've got the 935, I use it almost every day with my iPhone 7, not the Plus, and it syncs just fine. I will say my iPhone 7 has been a bit of a pain in the ass lately on iOS 11 with Bluetooth drops across all devices. Like, every device I have, it just keeps on dropping randomly for periods of time. And so that kind of sucks. I don't know if it's like my phone having a hardware thing, but this thing's pretty much brand new, or if it's an iOS 11 thing, but it's sort of super frustrating to me. Let's see. Can you make a comparison video between the GoPro Garmin cams and the iPhone X when mounted on the bike? That's something I had considered doing, actually. Today, if I got the iPhone X, I may not, we'll see down the road, maybe doing like a sport focused one a little bit, not so much on like necessarily just action camera side, but is there any improvements in the iPhone X or 10 as far as like a sport recording perspective? So I figured for fun might take along the way. Garmin Pay updates. They're cooking on stuff. They actually just got my watch working like 2 days ago, so I can now buy things. I successfully went to a sandwich shop and got something there, so that was good. I've advanced to the success range now. They are trying to get things out as soon as they can. It sounds like it's still definitely this month, which I know they kind of keep pushing it back, but it sounds like it's still going to be November. But it's really just going to depend if they can get to the point where everything is stable. In my case, I mean, it took a while and a lot of work to get that figured out, and it could just be a me thing. Like, it could just be totally a me thing, and they did a ton of work to try to figure this out. But it's complex. There's a lot of moving parts with it, and so I think it's good that they're taking the time to get that right, as opposed to just like pushing it out and hoping for the best. So even if it may mean a little bit longer for people, and plus there's really no banks on there anyways, so that's the spoiler, of course, is that there is almost no banks on not just Garmin Pay but also on FitPay or Fitbit Pay, whatever they call themselves, and so it's tough. I think that'll improve dramatically in 2018, but it's going to be pretty rough initially. You mentioned a few weeks ago review on aero testing. Yeah, I've still got that to write up. The Notio or Docio, however you pronounce them, and Aerolab are two ones I definitely want to talk about. I've got all the photos done, all the data here, just sort of like cooking through stuff. I generally try to, like, as a bit of a background, I try to get posts out that are time specific. So like the Epson post yesterday, the day before, they had a certain embargo press time, whatever, so I timed things to that. The Garmin Descent post earlier this week, same thing. It was product announcement, so I usually like prioritize those above everything else. And so once I get those figured out, then I go on to other things. The good news is that there should not be any more of those this year. So I think we're past more or less all the new products for the end of the year is my guess here. So that's kind of where we probably are. Let's see. Okay, clicking the down question button, which is always dangerous. Nico says Bluetooth is iOS 11 thing. I think see the same thing on my wife's 5S and 8. It's not you, not just you. Yeah, it's just it's not. It's really annoying for me. I'm always like turning Bluetooth on and off, and even resetting the phone usually like twice a day to get it to work. Aerofly is a power meter. So Aerofly is this tiny little power meter that's like yay big. It goes on your valve stem on your tube, and it gives you power data. It was really bad like this past year, and they've made a bunch of software improvements, and I haven't tried it again. I have it on a bike here somewhere. It's on a wheel liner somewhere, but I'll give them a chance. I got to retry that and see if those software improvements have made things better. Like, there's a lot of requirements in the past, like having a must have a phone, must have this, must have that, and it just didn't make it that useful. We'll see if it's gets better soon. I gotta just put a new battery in it and pair it back up again and see if I can make something work out of it. What is, in your view, the best, most innovative watch released in its time? Probably the Forerunner 305. I think the 310 XT, which is what he said, I still think back to the 310 XT. I think the 310 XT was in a lot of ways, and it's true, but I think of all time, probably the good old Forerunner 305. I don't know if I've got that anywhere super close by here in the gigantic bin of devices. I had it like around the other day, I just saw it actually, but I don't know where it is. It's really easy to find. It's the reddish looking one, and yeah, sorry, I don't see it handy. I think that one is like the one where it changed the realm of GPS units. Like it used to be a GPS unit like a Twinkie, like this big, and you put it on your wrist, and then this was one that actually looked kind of watchish, still really big, but that was like where it finally, boom, hit the point where it was watch-ish looking, and people like went to it in droves, and yeah, it's great. Isn't latest Epson watch incompatibility a big flaw compared to the competition? Suunto, for instance. Yep, totally. Like I think it's tough. You've got to support sensors and you got to support standards. And when you don't do that and you try to get into the triathlon realm, especially the upper end running realm, it's really, really tough. Randy Stump asks, are there any product updates coming from Cyclic? Yes. So they teased or something a new something. I don't even know what I'm not allowed to say. I went to this event in Vegas, and in fact a bunch of tech press or sports tech peoples did, like Cycling Tips and all sorts of guys out there went to this event back at Interbike, and then we were allowed to take pictures then for what would have been an announcement, I don't know, sometime like 2 weeks ago or something, in October, and about this new product they have. And basically, like, they went through all the specs, they went through everything, and it was kind of nighttime, so it was a really bad time to take pictures, but actually I got some good pictures outside because it was a bike light, of course, of sorts. And so I did that, and then, like, all of us press got a note, like, the day before the announcement saying, hey, we just want you to tease things instead, just to send out, like, a simple, maybe just, like, 1 line or 2 lines of the picture. And I kind of said no, like, that's not the way. I'm not a marketing arm for companies. If they want their product highlighted on my site or whatever, then you get the good and the bad, you get my thoughts on it, you get analysis on it, and so I said no, and other people said no as well, and I don't know if, to be honest, anyone ended up covering it, which really hurts, but I think it also shows like a little bit of the power of, you know, there are a few things that I had texted someone else that was also at the event, and I kind of said, you know, I hate when people waste my time. And so I'd run back across town from something else I was at to go to this event, and then to have all this stuff and do all that. So I burned other things I could have done, and then to say like, oh, I can't use any of the stuff I shot, like, I don't know, it's just too bad, because it actually is legitimately probably the coolest thing they've ever done. So hopefully that'll announce soon. I think they had sent me a note saying they're going to come visit me here in a couple weeks or something. So if that's the case, maybe then I'll be able to talk about it. So yeah, there's something there, but I don't know what to say. Jacob asks, is there a Vector 3 delay? There was a delay, but it's undelayed. It's shipping now. It's been shipping for, I think, 2 weeks now, 3 weeks. How was it November 3rd already? Holy cow. It's been shipping since Kona. So they started shipping at Kona. They had units there. I don't know if it was like 40 units or 400 units, but they had units. People picked them up, and they will start using them. And that following Monday, they sent out to distributors. Like I know Clever Training has them, or have the next batch coming in this week or something like that, or next week. So there's units out there. They're going through. It's all that. So it's good. Let's see. Scrolling back up again. Hit the blue thing. There we go. Back to the bottom. So back up. How would running power with the 935 be desirable over the 735 XT? Well, so if you're talking Garmin running power, it's only available on watches with barometric altimeters. So 735 does not have that, so no running power there. If you're talking like Stride or RunScribe Plus, then you don't need either of those two. In that case, it'd be identical on both watches, to be honest. So if you do want running power, I would consider the 935 if you're planning to get Garmin's stuff, because my guess is your total outlay in cash about the same. With the 935, you're going to spend more than the 735, especially because the 735 went on sale permanently today, or dropped their price down permanently by I think $50. So that there's a difference there, but you're going to spend more on Stride or Run Scribe to, you know what I mean, like it just kind of levels out. And you'd have a newer, I think, better GPS longer term. Have you used the Amata GPS computer? Texas asked. I was wondering if you found it simpler, easier, or not worth it. I have used it. It's right here. This one. So this is the Amata one right there. Things that are actually close by. In case you're wondering why, by the way, I have a torque wrench sitting here. It's because I've been trying to like focus the camera from far away, and this was the only way I like could go around there, and I hit the button and it works. But I don't have to focus anymore. So that's why I got there. Amata. So Amata's cool stuff. First off, props for doing USB-C. I like that. Makes sense. And this is basically designed to be like a classical GPS type device, not a watch, a head unit. It's cool. Like I'm probably not the customer for this, but I respect them, and I have no problem like reviewing it in that sense that it's not for me. But it's something that I think is for someone, and whoever that someone is, it's pretty cool stuff. I don't think they're shipping yet. This is a prototype one. It literally says prototype 150 of 200, made in Finland. Cool stuff though. I don't know if this one has any juice on it right now or not. Oh, it does have juice. So you can see like when I rotate it, it'll turn on and stuff like that. But it's just cool stuff. But I'll probably post something on it once they get to final production status. H3PO4 Stiggies asks, hey DCR, are you wearing the Samsung Gear? So for those that missed the very beginning, I have the Apple Watch Series 3 LTE, the red dot doohickey there, and then I've got the Samsung Gear Sport right here. The first kind of, I think it's the second day wearing this, but first day of like workouts and stuff. So I did a run this morning or for lunchtime, and then I went out and did some riding around town, just like Vlieb type stuff. I would check out my Twitter feed for how things are going so far. Not the strongest introduction of stuff. I definitely am planning a review on that. It's not going to be as, I think, like long over duration. I'm just setting myself as like, I'm doing 7 days worth of workouts, and that's it, done. In part because of what you probably would see on Twitter with how that first run went. So, but that's my current thought there. Have you tried the V-Power iPhone app? I have not. I know the V-Power, so I know like generally the whole concept of doing, not simulated, but like estimated power on power meters. And, usually it is pretty close in some cases, but there's just a lot of variables there. So it's good like if you have nothing else, but at the same time, some of that 1% type stuff matters after a while, and it becomes a little more weird. I have Ravi asked, I have a Watt Team Powerbeat G2 power meter. Their calibration temperature compensation is really bad. And he talks about calibration going all over the place. So one, I make sure you're on the latest firmware, and two, I would ring up Watt Team support, to be honest. Like their support's actually really good. They've got folks on Skype that will go with you and walk through everything on your computer or on your power meter with their computer, and they'll actually like look at stuff real-time calibration. It's actually really fascinating to do, and they can go like when you do the water bag thing, they can walk through that with you and be like, oh hey, this one that you did of the whatever it is 4 or 6 calibration steps to get that all initially set up, this one gave an invalid number or a weird number or a something number. So definitely if you have a chance to do that with them, because they might be able to work out whatever your issue is, if you will. Let's see. Carl Millen, M-I-N. Hello, DCR. May I ask you what you think about choosing the Garmin Fenix 5X would be useful when cycling cross mountain bike instead of the Garmin Edge 1030? Depends. Like they're both similar, both different. Like the Fenix 5X does have mapping on it. I would question whether or not I would personally be able to do mountain biking and looking at my wrist for that small of a map while I'm cycling, like actively mountain biking. So it depends on what you're doing. Like if you're doing a lot of hiking and out of mountain stuff, like if you live in the mountains and you're doing that all the time, then beyond just mountain biking, then the 5X ride makes more sense. But if you're more of a cyclist, then I would go more towards the Edge 1030 instead, probably, because then you're going to have like a bigger display you can see there, and that's just my 2 cents. Glenn asks, what do you think of the Samsung Gear Fit 2 Pro? That's their band wearable one. You know, I looked at it a little bit, and be honest, I haven't really had a lot of people ask about it. Like, I've had just a couple, maybe 2, 3, something like that. And so it's a little bit tougher to spend time on it or spend money on it and, as well. And I'm starting off with this. I'm going to see how things go, and then kind of go there from that point. This is again the Gear Sport. My feed answered, Angel, or I think it's Angel, asked, my feed died in the middle of answering my question, in the middle of you answering my question about the Garmin Descent. Would it be a viable swimming watch? Yes, definitely. So the Garmin Descent is simply a Garmin Fenix 5X with the dive stuff on top of it. So like it is ultimately the perfect watch if you are a multi-sport or some sport athlete that also do diving, because it has that extra bit there. But it's literally take the Fenix 5X and then stick the diving stuff on top of it. They're not taking anything away from it. The Fenix 5X is a totally, open water swimming, regular swimming, all the swimming is available there. Best watch, Francisco asks the best watch for cycling and lifestyle. It's tough. Like, I'd say right now the best watches for cycling depends on what sensors you have. So if you have like power meters with AMP Plus sensors, then that's going to force you down the Garmin path. If you have Bluetooth smart sensors and you're a little more open, you can go to Polar or Suunto as well as Garmin for the newest stuff. But that'd be my thought. I think overall it just depends a little bit what you want. I think like the Fenix 5 series in general is the best overall, sports, tons and tons of functions and stuff, as well as lifestyle look to it, depending on your look. The Suunto Spartan series as well, if you have Bluetooth smart sensors on your bike, that's kind of that same realm. Not as many features as the Fenix 5X, but it also looks pretty nice as well. Let's see, GP Phil or GPIHL, best wheel-on trainer in your opinion? I don't know. I'd say like Cyclops Magnus is really strong there. I haven't played lately, anyways, with the Tacx like Bushido and Vortex Rome in a year or so, because they're kind of a couple-year-old trainer now. Nothing wrong with them, but just it's not something I do every week. I'm hesitant on the Kickr Snap. Like I have a lot of accuracy issues with it, and they keep trying and fixing things, but it just isn't really happening for me, and I'm not really sure why. So I'm a little hesitant there, whereas a Magnus generally tends to play a little better for me, and things are a little happier. Let's see. Peter asks, does my Fenix 5 VO2 predictor sync with activities done on my Garmin 520, or vice versa? No. But Garmin does know this is the problem. It sounds like their goal is to get this pushed out in an update so that like all that kind of recovery and training load metrics type stuff is solved as of early next year, is sort of their hope. And I had a long conversation with them about it back at the AMP Plus Symposium, and they totally get it. They get that like that screws over their best customers, the people who are spending the most money with Garmin. That hurts them. You want to go out and buy an Edge 1030 for whatever that is, like $600, and you want to buy a Garmin Fenix 5 for $600 or however much they go up to these days. So now you've laid out like $1,200 for stuff, and you bought Garmin Vector pedals on top of it all, and those things don't really cross work with each other, and so it sort of sucks. But they get it, and it's coming in a fix. It sounds like you're probably gonna hear things like phased in over time. So like, and you're seeing this already actually. If you look on Garmin Connect, you'll start to see those metrics being surfaced on Garmin Connect Mobile and Garmin Connect, the website, and each month you see like one little metric more kind of pop up in a graph somewhere. So you're seeing them sort of bring everything up, and then at some point they'll start flowing back and forth between each other. Just sort of like they did with steps with the True Sync or True Up or whatever they called it back a year or two ago. See, what have I missed here in the questions? So I'd say last call for questions. I'm going to go scroll up and see if I've missed anything. John Morrow asks, are you excited for the Karoo computer? Definitely excited for it. I think they're doing a lot of stuff with navigation. You kind of mentioned it seems like they're breaking new ground with onboard navigation. I totally agree with you. They are definitely breaking ground there. I'd say the same thing I've said in the past, though, is that they're doing awesome stuff in navigation, but there's still a lot of other parts of the bike computer that I think will be a little bit behind the competitors out there for at least the first 6 to 12 months is my guess. So kind of like Wahoo was initially with the Element. It took like a year for them to get into that spin of things and nail it, and now they've done that. They're incredibly competitive with the Element Bolt. I think we're going to see sort of the same thing with Hammerhead, and just be a little bit, it'll be like a geek's device for the first year, and then they're going to find their way. But if they can get through that first year, they'll be in a really good spot. Let's see. I want a GPS bike computer. It's out Polar M460 or Wahoo Bolt. I'm not a super cyclist, but want to use training features for motivation without paying for subscriptions. Your idea. I really like the Wahoo Bolt. I know it's a little more expensive than the M460. I think it's a great unit. It's so well done all around. It's so easy to use. It's so easy for navigation stuff in particular, compared to what Polar is doing there. That'd be my recommendation. Let's see, what else have I missed here in the questions in YouTube's scrolly thing? Sean asks, what would be your go-to watch if you ran a try today? The Garmin 935. The Fenix 5 is fine, but I like the 935 over the Fenix 5 series because, one, there are some quirks with the Fenix 5 and 5S, but not the X, on ANT+ sensors. So that's a bit of a weird thing. And then the 935 doesn't have that problem. And then the 935 is just lighter. I just like a lighter watch. That's really all this comes down to, is the Fenix 5, any Fenix, it's just a bigger, heavier watch for me. I like a thin watch. Do you need a specific trainer for a Zwift run, or a footpod will be fine? A Bluetooth smart footpod is all you need, and so you can use that. The Milestone pod is one that's really cheap on Amazon, like $24, $29. Works great with Zwift running, so that'd be my recommendation there. What else have I missed? Scrolling through here. Let's see. What hydration vest for a 50K ultra run? I don't know. I haven't run 50K ultra trail run. To be honest, I wish I can give you a better answer there, but I do not have one, unfortunately. I use a Camelback Kayak, I think it is. Kayak. For my like long runs. It's got like pockets for all sorts of stuff. It's got typical hydration bladder in the back. I think it's a 48 ounce, 50 ounce, something like that. And then plenty of pockets for crap, which is what I want. I guess whatever you do, and you know this obviously from like trail running, but you just want lots of easy to access pockets. Like you need to like put it on and make sure that you can get to that without having to stop. At least I don't want to stop anyway, so that's just my recommendation. Why are micro USB watches not produced anymore? Euro had asked that. Simple. Waterproofing. So waterproofing sucks for micro USB. So you can waterproof like simple things like phones and stuff like that. Like it's not too hard, but corrosion is usually the issue. And with athletic devices, you're getting tons of salt, and salt is corrosive. You get things like sports gels, and open water swimming is ocean water. All that's corrosive, and over time that seeps into most micro USB devices. We saw Polar really struggle with that. With the M400 back a couple years ago. They went through like multiple iterations of it. So companies really want to get away from that. And honestly, USB-C's got the same problem. Like, doesn't really solve it here. Yes, you can waterproof something, but it's not the water that's the issue. It's the salt and crap that gets in there over time, which is why you see proprietary connectors. It's just so much easier, both waterproof through depth, but also nothing gets in them because they're usually flush. They're flat with things. That's kind of the main reason there. And we'll see like wireless charging, get into devices more and more, but that still takes a lot of space internally, and so it's not something that you're going to see happen overnight, especially in the devices that are longer battery life. It's one thing if a device is kind of going through battery really quickly and people don't mind that as much, like a 1 or 2 day device, but when people want to have something that lasts, a number of weeks, then that's a little different ballgame. Charlie asked, should I wait for Black Friday deals to come out to get a wearable? In general, yes. At this point, you have reached the point of no return. Like, you've reached on a runway, V2 or V1, where you've got to take off or do something. Like, in November 3rd, you're within a week of the beginning of the Black Friday, like, parade starting, and then 2.5 weeks or whatever it is now to Black Friday itself. So I would be waiting till at least just shy of a week from now to see what happens across all sports technology purchases. and then that's when things start. And I think you'll have a pretty clear picture of stuff within about a week or so, and then after that, you know, you get into Black Friday and whatnot. The thing to keep in mind with Black Friday, though, in general, is you're not going to see great deals on things that are brand new. Like, you're probably not going to see a significant or maybe any deal at all on like a GoPro Hero 6 that was just announced, you know, a month ago. You're probably not going to see a deal on like the Garmin VirB 3 that was just announced 2 months ago, or the Fit Bionic. You can sometimes see like retailer-specific deals, like 20% off everything or stuff like that. But a lot of times those have exclusions, like Garmin's excluded from most all those type of deals. Same with GoPro. Those are manufacturer exclusions, not because the retailer wants that, but manufacturer dictates that. So I would generally speaking wait till you see deals. I will comment on deals. I'll post on deals as they happen, especially starting next week. And I'll kind of give you whether or not this is the best deal you're going to see. Like, you know, for most things, like 20% off current sports tech devices is the best deal you're going to see. For things that are over a year old, I would not expect anything more than about 20% off for anything that was produced this year. Let's see, what else am I missing down here? Best action camera for cycling. Let's see, I went too far down. Best action camera for cycling depends on if you want data fields or not. So if you don't care about overlaying data, go with the GoPro Hero 6. If you want to overlay data like speed and stuff like that, go with the Garmin VirB Ultra 30. With the GoPro, yes, they can overlay data kind of, but it's so bad. Like it's not good. Like you can only choose a couple fields. It's just no, just don't do it. You can, however, though, if you have a GoPro and you have a Garmin device, you can take the .fit file and run it through Garmin's VirB Edit Suite for free and combine it with the video from the GoPro. You can do that. There are some limitations there. You may, like if you're shooting in 4K 60, the VirB Edit Suite doesn't support that format yet. So some minor limitations, but that is definitely an option if you want to kind of get the best of both worlds potentially. Triathlon Terran asks, do you think that Interbike's decision to move locations will make it less lame? Definitely. I think, you know, Interbike, that's a start. Still, definitely, but it's a start. Like, I think it's still a bad time of year. I think it's still something that they got to differentiate themselves more with Eurobike. It'll help though next year that Eurobike is astoundingly in July, which is horrible, even worse than Interbike's decision. So now you've got like a 2-month separation there versus the 2 weeks that it used to be. So that'll definitely help. People, the general gist that I heard from most people in the industry is that they're willing to give Interbike a shot for 2018 next year in Reno, Tahoe. And so if that's really cool and they're like, oh yes, this is awesome, then you'll see people come back. If they go there and it's like wah wah, then people aren't going to return. That'll be it. So they've got to go big or go home next year, pull out all the stops, and just sort of do really well. What else have I missed here? Scrolling up. How robust is the Fenix 5 mineral glass? I haven't heard of anyone breaking it yet in the comment section. I'm sure someone has broke it somewhere, but I haven't heard of anyone breaking it. So that's probably a good start. Francisco asks, what do you think about the Tacx Flow? So Flow is something I keep meaning to buy. It's like a €250 trainer here in Europe. Really inexpensive trainer, like basic control, smart trainer control up and down and stuff like that for resistance. And so it's impressive, like it's mind-boggling impressive. There's some limitations, like you can't throw down 1,000 watts on it, but for most people it's solid. Check out GP Llama on YouTube here. Shane Miller just did an awesome review of it like earlier this week, so definitely go check out his I think it's like a 20-minute long video, so definitely hit that up though for more on that particular one. Angel asks, not a question per se, but I'm hoping you can go into more detail on which watch is better for swimming between the Ionic, the IW3, I think the Apple Watch 3 or the VivoActive 3. And I'd say the best is probably just barely it depends on what kind of swimming. Indoor swimming, I would say the VivoActive 3 is better in my opinion because the display is always on. Versus the Apple Watch 3 display turns off. It's super frustrating. Like I was swimming yesterday, the day before, and I like to be able to, when I'm going like a stroke, I can look at my watch display like this as I go off the wall. I can push off the wall and I can easily see that. I can't see that on the Apple Watch because the display is off underwater. There are some third-party apps that I think may fix that, but I haven't like tried all of them yet. But like the native one doesn't work as well. So that'd be my recommendation there. Let's see, what else have I got here that I may have missed? Adam asked, when is the Gear Sport review happening? Maybe like 10 to 14 days away, something like that. We'll see. We're expecting a new little one in like that same time period, so that may screw up a lot of my plans in general. Fairly5 asked, which US tries are you planning next year? Probably none, to be honest. I don't think I'm going to plan any US tries next year. Kind of a couple ideas for Europe. We'll see, but I don't think I'll do any US tries. That's kind of my guess there. Tony asks, any new Garmin camera coming out? No, I talked about a little bit later on in the video, but in short, I think you'll see them wait until next year. They're focused really on the 360 unit for right now, which I think makes sense. That's something that there's a lot of interesting change in the market there with GoPro and whatnot. But yeah. Let's see. Reports ever put you off? Let's see. Okay, so GP LEL is asking about thanks for the early reply. I think he's talking about the Elite Direto. Several trainers have had teething problems, reported noises. Shane Miller had some break. Oh, he's talking about the Tacx Flux. Would reports ever put you off, or do you find most customer service is pretty good? I find most customer service pretty good. In the case of the Tacx Flux, they obviously had a rough start a year ago with lots of weird issues. You can go on, like there's graphs that show all that kind of stuff. I think we're well past the Tacx Flux issues. Like anything else, I think you're at the point now where people are having an issue. It's just a random one-off bad unit. It's not like a systematic thing like they were having. And then Tacx was really open about that as well, and talking about like how they screwed up essentially. And so I think you're pretty safe there at this point. What else have I missed here? I think I've got most of the questions. I hope so anyways. Let's see, I'll scroll down to the bottom, see if I missed anything at all, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. Are you spreading giveaways on a Christmas tree for the open DCR cave again? Yes. So that's M9ING0 something is referring to the DCR cave open house that I just posted on like before I came down here, and that's happening on December 2nd. So check out the site, just dcrainmaker.com, and look at the post there if you're in Europe and you want to come for that. So the whole cave, everything's open house. You can play with anything you want, really. Super cool. We do a morning run. We do like a big party at night. Awesome stuff. And there's tons and tons of stuff I give away, both like straight up gift certificates as well as gadgets that'll be under the Christmas tree. So definitely hit that up. He said, yes, my username is crap. It's a tongue twister. So yeah, that's definitely something to do and check out. It'll also be the last one here in this cave. This cave has gotten too small, or I've got too much crap in here. So we're looking at some bigger spaces that my wife and I that'll accommodate both of us. And so unfortunately, like stuff is just piled up everywhere. Like I clean everything all the time to make it look pretty on camera, but they're just giant stacks. Like the treadmill's covered in boxes right now, and everything's everywhere. So yeah, so definitely this is your last chance to see this iconic location. Hey DCR, what's the latest best option to use with iPad, which heart rate monitor and turbo trainer? I use it with usually like the Tacx Neo. This week I'm using it with a Watt Bike, and then I use just a Wahoo Kickr X heart rate strap. But any Wahoo Kickr is fine, like, or any Bluetooth smart heart rate strap is fine. I like the Kickr because it's dual Amp Plus and Bluetooth Smart. The 4i's Viva, V-I-I-I-V-A, is the same as well. It's also a really solid option there too. And that is, I think, it. Todd asked, good cheap treadmill. I don't know. I've only got one treadmill I bought here. I bought it in Europe. Treadmills in Europe suck compared to treadmills in the US. They're all like the 1980s units. Like you can get these really cool treadmills in the US, as far as how cool a treadmill can be anyways. Here in Europe, it's all like this leftover stock from 10 years ago. It's just somewhat silly. So with that, thanks so much for watching. Feel free to tune in, or next time, so I'm thinking probably another week or two down the road. We'll do another one of these here or on Facebook Live. Definitely hit the subscribe button if you, well, you probably did because you saw this. I really appreciate it. We got more sports tech videos coming up next week. Kind of a couple things that I've been wanting to post about for a while that I haven't had a chance to get out the door. And don't forget to hit up the site, dcrainmaker.com, because it was pointed out to me last time, people don't realize I actually have a full site that has way more detail than what's going on here. And finally, Tony asks, when am I coming to Portugal? I do not know, but I'd love to get back. Been a couple years since I've been there, and maybe soonish, maybe sometime in the new year. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good one, have a good weekend, and enjoy.